Part 42. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 411. Calculated by the mass of Jupiter. The current mass of the diamond planet is 1.7 times the mass of Jupiter, and the gas giant planet next to the diamond planet currently has a mass of only 0.8 times the mass of Jupiter. The mass difference is very huge. But if you look at it from the volume, the difference is actually not that big. The comparison between the diamond planet and the other party is now like the comparison between Jupiter and Saturn. The mass difference is not small, but the volume difference is not big. Why is this? Chen Hao thought about it for a while, and he understood. Because of gravity. The greater the gravity, the closer the matter will naturally be to the center of the planet. For a gas giant planet like this, there are a lot of gaseous substances on the periphery, and these gaseous substances are affected by gravity, so they move closer to the center of the planet, and the gas density is a little higher. Therefore, although the mass is greater than 0.8 Jupiter's mass, the volume growth is not that much, but the planetary density is definitely higher. Next, the diamond planet has to find a way to swallow the gas giant planet in front of it. Let's see what the little diamond does. If it doesn't do well, it will probably become like the yellow wind star and the yellow earth star, and then it will crash into them, and it won't absorb much mass, Chen Hao muttered. When the little diamond star appeared, the two gas giants were immediately captured by each other's gravitational waves. The huge body of the little diamond star was rotating, and the other was also rotating. When they were captured by each other's gravity, the two began to rotate around each other. During the rotation process, they slowly approached each other. Chen Hao observed with the naked eye through the projection and found that the speed of the two approaching was very slow. Of course, this is only seen with the naked eye. Judging from the huge bodies of these two gas giants, this slow speed is also very fast. As they got closer and closer, Chen Hao noticed that the speed of the two planets approaching was a little faster. After all, under the influence of gravitational waves, in this nearly vacuum cosmic environment, what the planets did to each other was pure acceleration. Chen Hao frowned slightly. If they continue to speed up the approach, the result will probably be the same as the previous yellow wood star and the yellow earth star, and they will be directly crashed. Suddenly, Chen Hao noticed that the speed of the two planets approaching each other slowed down. Chen Hao was startled. What's going on? Logically, the two planets are getting closer and closer, and the speed should be getting faster and faster, and then they collide. Why did they suddenly slow down? Little diamond controls its own gravitational waves and slows down the speed of approaching each other. The mechanical voice of the information processor sounded in Chen Hao's mind. Hearing this, Chen Hao immediately understood. Yes, Little Diamond said that she can control her own gravitational waves. Chen Hao immediately smiled. Smart. If Little Diamond does not control the speed of approaching in this way, the collision will knock the other party away, and the mass will not be obtained at that time. But after slowing down, it will be different. The two gas giants slowly approached. As the distance got closer and closer, Chen Hao could see a little bit of yellow gas peeling off from the gas giant, first a little bit, and then a lot of gas. These gases rotated around the gravitational wave orbit of Little Diamond and slowly sank into the body of Little Diamond. As the gaseous body became more and more, the body of the gas giant planet collapsed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Its body turned into countless gases, liquids, and solids, surrounding the equator of the small diamond star, forming an accretion disk composed of a large amount of yellow gas. It quickly sank into the body of the small diamond star and became a part of the small diamond star. Chen Hao watched the swallowing process of the small diamond star, and a smile appeared on his face. This little guy has accumulated a lot of experience after swallowing so many planets. It's pretty good. However, now the small diamond star also has the mass of Jupiter. Chen Hao thought for a while, and he asked, Information processor, What else can it evolve into after the gas giant planet? Sub-brown dwarf. The voice of the information processor sounded. Sub-brown dwarf is a celestial body with a mass higher than 3 Jupiter masses and less than 13 Jupiter masses. 3. Chen Hao was stunned. Then swallow all the gas giant planets in this planetary system, wouldn't that be just right? What will a sub-brown dwarf look like? To be honest, Chen Hao still has some expectations. There are currently 3 gas giants left, one with 0.8 Jupiter mass, one with 1 Jupiter mass, and one with 0.9 times Jupiter mass. After swallowing, it should have reached the mass of a sub-brown dwarf. However, based on previous experience, this swallowing process will consume matter, and it is still uncertain how much mass can be obtained in the end. Chen Hao quietly waited for the little diamond to absorb all the planets. This process takes time. When the little diamond swallowed the first gas giant, it took her a full day to swallow the gas giant. After swallowing the gas giant with 0.8 Jupiter mass, her mass reached 2.5 Jupiter mass. It seems that there is no loss, but Chen Hao knows that it is because the calculation method he used is based on the mass of Jupiter, and in fact, there must have been mass loss, but the loss did not reach 0.1 Jupiter, so it looks like there is no loss. However, this is already very good. Chen Hao remembered that the collision between Yellow Wind Star and Yellow Earth Star had almost caused the total loss of Yellow Earth Star's mass. The reason why the mass of the swallowed gas giant planet can be completely absorbed now is because of the swallowing proficiency mastered by Little Diamond. It seems that Little Diamond has mastered the method of swallowing planets to gain mass. Chen Hao touched his chin while sitting on the vine chair. In other words, after she swallows the mass of the second Jupiter, she can become a sub-brown dwarf, right? From the appearance at this moment, the appearance of Little Diamond's star slowly changed from yellow to brown. Seeing this, Chen Hao was startled. What's going on? Has it become a sub-brown dwarf? Chen Hao whispered subconsciously, but the problem is that her mass is not yet more than 3 Jupiters. The information processor sensed Chen Hao's doubts, and a string of text appeared on the model. Gas giant Little Diamond Star. Description: in the process of absorbing other planets, the hydrogen on the outer periphery of Little Diamond Star was ignited, resulting in a light brown appearance. Seeing this text information, Chen Hao understood. The Little Diamond Star did not become a sub-brown dwarf, but because of the impact of the swallowing process, the hydrogen was ignited. Suddenly, the Little Diamond Star was lit with white light. The light ball began to shrink rapidly. In the blink of an eye, the little diamond turned into a human shape. When Chen Hao saw this, his heart moved. Are you going to swallow the next one? I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 412. Little Diamond's figure disappeared, and when she reappeared, she appeared in front of the second gas giant planet. This is the middle one among the 3 gas giant planets in this planetary system, with a mass of 0.9 Jupiter masses. After Little Diamond saw this guy, her body glowed with golden light, and then turned into a ball of light. Chen Hao looked at the scene and was thinking about another thing. When Little Diamond was still in her planetary form, the oxygen in her body was ignited, and this igniting reaction would definitely take a while. It is estimated that this is a kind of consumption. I don't know how much material the ignition will consume from the Little Diamond Star. It shouldn't burn the mass of the Earth, Chen Hao thought. The burning state on Little Diamond's body must still be continuing. If Little Diamond returns to his true form now, it is estimated that he will continue to burn. Under Chen Hao's gaze, Diamond transformed from human form into planetary form. Upon seeing this, Chen Hao was slightly startled. Has the burning stopped? The small diamond star is spinning, and its appearance is dark yellow. The burning state has disappeared. When Chen Hao saw this, there was something new in his eyes. The burning state is due to the high temperature caused by gas friction during the combination of 2 planets, which ignited the gas. The burning will definitely stop due to cooling, but if you want to stop, it will only stop after a while. But now it just stops cooling. Chen Hao was a little confused. In other words, Little Diamond can transform into a human form, allowing Little Diamond to return to normal. Chen Hao stroked his chin. Is the burning effect an abnormal state? He looked at the mass of the Little Diamond star. 2.5 Jupiter masses. Chen Hao smiled. He was just worried that the burning would burn away too much material on Little Diamond star. Unexpectedly, this problem was solved by Little Diamond switching between his body and human form. In other words, there is no need to worry about the small diamond star losing too much material due to the burning effect. Pretty good. While Chen Hao was thinking, the small diamond that turned into a gas giant planet had already begun to swallow up the next gas giant planet. The process is the same as before. Since the current mass of the small diamond has changed from 1.7 Jupiter masses to 2.5 Jupiter masses, it is too easy to swallow up this gas giant planet with only 0.9 Jupiter masses. Master, suddenly, a voice interrupted Chen Hao's thoughts. Chen Hao came back to his senses and looked to his side. I saw Xiadi standing there gracefully next to me. She looked at Chen Hao with a smile. You is here, and she said she wanted to chat with you. Hearing this, Chen Hao showed a smile and nodded slightly. Let her come in anyway. Chen Hao is idle now, so he can let her come over. Xiadi nodded slightly and then walked out the door. Chen Hao withdrew his gaze and continued to look at the 3D projection image model of the small diamond swallowing the gas giant planet. Ta ta ta. There were footsteps at the door. Chen Hao turned to look sideways and saw Yu's figure walking from the door. When she saw Chen Hao, she had a smile on her face. She put it in front of her chest and saluted Chen Hao, smiling. Said, Master Chuangshen, I'm here again. Chen Hao smiled. Is there any problem this time? You showed that confident smile. I listened to your words the day before yesterday and went back to chat with Uncle Skeleton for a while. He told me a lot of knowledge about the truth. Such knowledge as natural satellites, planets, stars, huh? Lord Chuangshen, what is this? While speaking, Yu's eyes noticed the projected image suspended in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao looked at the impact in front of him and explained, this is a projection. The little diamond is swallowing the gas giant planet outside. I have nothing to do, so I am watching here. As he spoke, he looked at Yu. But the smile on Yu's face disappeared. She stared blankly at the projection in front of her. Sister Little Diamond, the gas giant planet, swallowed. Yu's voice was filled with shock, and she subconsciously slowly turned her face to the side and looked at Chen Hao beside her. Her face was full of disbelief and shock. Chen Hao was frightened by Yu's expression. He blinked. What's wrong? Yu said, did I hear correctly? She frowned. As far as I know, Vaf Star and God Realm Star are both planets. Planets are the planes that people from Vaf Star often refer to. That is a plane. Gas giant planets are even bigger than planets. It's dozens of times, even hundreds of times bigger. Master Chuangshen, are you saying that Miss Diamond is devouring a plane larger than the one I live in? She looked at Chen Hao in disbelief. For it. Chen Hao touched his chin. No wonder she was shocked. To ordinary people, a planet is a plane, the entire space they live in, and a world for them. But now, the little diamond star is devouring a large plane. This is something that ordinary people cannot understand. Even someone like you, who was raised by the sword demon and the little skull, could not keep calm when she heard and saw this happening. Very normal. After Chen Hao understood Yu's thoughts, he smiled. You can say that, but you don't have to be too surprised. This kind of thing is very common. The corner of Yu's mouth twitched, and she smiled bitterly. Master Chuangshen, this matter is not ordinary at all for ordinary people. As Yu said this, she looked at the image in front of her. In the image, Diamond had already begun to devour the gas giant, and the gas on the gas giant was slowly rotating and sinking into Diamond's body. Is that plane with a large body, Sister Diamond? You ask subconsciously. Yes. I never thought that not only Uncle Pig could become a plane. The diamond who was smaller and shorter than me before was actually a plane, and a plane larger than Uncle Pig. No wonder Sister Fire Phoenix always said that Diamond was the strongest of all beast masters. Plane devouring plane, it's unbelievable that I could actually see this happen with my own eyes. You murmured, her eyes full of shock, is this the daily life of the Creator God? Easily devouring a world? Chen Hao listened to Yu's mumbling and looked at her shocked expression. He didn't know what to say for a moment. Because he suddenly realized that everything he was doing now seemed really unusual. Chen Hao was just used to doing this, so it felt like a daily routine. But for ordinary people, it was too shocking. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 413. Is this all what Master Chuang Shen does every day? You looked at Chen Hao, with a hint of admiration in her eyes. Before, you rarely saw Chen Hao show his strength, but this time, you finally saw it. Facing Shang Yu's gaze, Chen Hao maintained his usual gentle smile. Pretty much, I've really only been doing these things recently. There was more admiration in Yu Yan. Sister Little Diamond turns out to be a plane, let the plane swallow up the plane. Master Chuang Shen, what are you planning to do? Yu was curious. Chen Hao withdrew his gaze and looked at the small diamond that was devouring the gas giant planet in front of him. He said, feed Little Diamond to make her stronger. Feed Little Diamond. You looked at the projection of Little Diamond star. Why? She looked at Chen Hao. Hearing this, Chen Hao blinked and looked at you. Is this guy planning to break the casserole and get to the bottom of it? What a curious baby. He said with a smile, in this world, how can there be so many wise? You looked at Chen Hao, with confusion in his golden eyes. Chen Hao explained aloud, I like raising small animals and watching them grow up. Watching them grow and evolve is a great feeling. If you have to ask me why I want to raise little diamonds, then I can only tell you because I like it. You was stunned for a moment, little animal. You came back to her senses and smiled, the main gods of the god realm are not small animals. Well. Chen Hao touched his chin, looked at you, smiled and said, have you seen the big wolf, the second wolf and the third wolf now? Big wolf? Second wolf? Third wolf? Yu's eyes were full of doubts. Chen Hao said, it is the god of thunder, the god of storms, and the god of hurricanes. Yu showed a smile, I know this. The god of thunder now lives in the forest of Warcraft. I saw it in the forest of Warcraft before and had a fight with it during my training. If it hadn't recognized me and me through sword skills, if it's Uncle Skull's relationship, I'm probably doomed. The storm god and the hurricane god are in the god realm. I have seen them. It's just that, I feel that the storm god has a strange personality. You folded his hands on his chest, pretending to be thoughtful. He always likes to call himself, others. It feels weird. Weird. Chen Hao nodded slightly, well, did you know that in the world of Warcraft Forest, there is a kind of Warcraft called Wind Wolf? You hummed, of course I know, the Wind Wolf is a beast that many humans like to keep. You seem to realize something. She looked at Chen Hao with a hint of surprise in her eyes. Chen Hao nodded slightly and said with a smile, just as you thought, these three little guys were trained by me starting from Fenglang and finally trained. Yu's eyes widened, you mean, they were all wind wolves before, and then through evolution, they slowly evolved to where they are now. Chen Hao hummed. He stood up and stood in front of the balcony, looking at the scenery outside. Looking out from where Chen Hao was, he could see the beasts resting in the square in the distance. Some of them were taking a walk, some doing their own thing. Yu also followed Chen Hao's gaze and looked forward to see the main gods. Yu's eyes trembled slightly. Yu is from the planet Vav, so she naturally knows about the existence of beasts and the cultivation and evolution of beasts. It's just that on Vav planet, it's incredible to be able to train a beast to the Beast King stage. To train a beast to the main god level. Yu adjusted her mood. Thinking of the identity of the man next to her, her mood stabilized. After all, this is the creator god, and it is not so difficult to accept that he can do this. Yu looked at Chen Hao beside her. Chen Hao sat on the vine chair again. In front of Chen Hao was a transparent sphere, and inside this sphere was the 3D projection of the universe. Inside is the scene of a small diamond star swallowing a gas giant planet. Yu said, "Is this the meaning of what you said before, Master Chuangshen?" Chen Hao was startled and looked at Yu. "What is this little guy thinking about?" Yu smiled. "Before, I was always confused and didn't know what to do. At that time, I was confused and thought about doing something that would make sense. Then Master Chuangshen asked me to look at the stars and told me that in other planets, there are also weak people that I need to protect." Yu looked at Chen Hao and said with a smile, "I understand now that there are not so many things in a person's life. There is not so much meaning, the important thing is to find what you want to do, and then do it, just like what you are doing now." Chen Hao was silent for a moment. He had heard that you wanted to protect the weak before. You said that there were no weak in Vav planet to protect, so Chen Hao asked her to look at other civilizations. But apart from these, what are the life issues and meanings? Chen Hao didn't talk about these. These are all made up by you himself. However, thinking back, Chen Hao felt that there was nothing wrong with Yu Naobu, so he nodded slightly and said with a smile, "If you have something you want to do, nothing is more meaningful than this." There was a smile on Yu's face. "Thank you, Master Chuangshen. I will work hard to study the truth left by Master Chuangshen, and then go to find other galaxy civilizations with Sister Huofeng and the others." Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled and nodded, "Go ahead." Yu turned and left. Looking at Yu's back, Chen Hao smiled helplessly. The little girl has more and more ideas. Chen Hao's eyes fell on the 3D projection in front of him. "Enter the eye." There was a hint of luster in Chen Hao's eyes. The small diamond is slowly devouring the planet. The planet is very large, but the mass of the small diamond star is too huge, so it is much easier to swallow it than before. As the small diamond star absorbed more and more mass, Chen Hao noticed something wrong. "The color seems to have become darker," Chen Hao muttered. The appearance of the little diamond star used to be light yellow clouds, but as it became more and more massive, the gaseous state gradually became thicker. It gradually changed from the pale yellow clouds to yellow, then orange, and then deep yellow. But now the color is darker, so dark that it is pitch black. During the phagocytosis process, because a large amount of gas enters, gas friction causes the air to be ignited. At this moment, the appearance of the little diamond star shows a light reddish-brown color, with a hint of reddish-brown in the black. Although its mass has reached about 3 Jupiter masses with the swallowing, its volume is the same as before it swallowed the 2 gas giant planets, and there is almost no change in volume. But Chen Hao can be sure that its density is much higher than before. Look at this small diamond that continues to swallow up the remaining material of the gas giant planet, and look at its reddish-brown appearance. Could this be a sub-brown dwarf? I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 414. The mass of a sub-brown dwarf is more than 3 Jupiter masses, and less than 13 will become a sub-brown dwarf. And now, when the mass of the gas giant planet is absorbed, it should be almost done. However, judging from the situation, it will take some time. Chen Hao raised his face and looked at the blue sky above. It is almost noon now. Chen Hao waved his hand, and the image on his body disappeared. He stood up and looked at the snow girl who had been standing silently beside him. The snow girl noticed Chen Hao's look, and she looked at Chen Hao, with a glimmer in her beautiful eyes like ice crystals. "Master." Chen Hao smiled and said, "Prepare lunch, I'm hungry." The snow girl nodded slightly. "Okay, I'll prepare it now." With that, the snow girl turned and walked into the house. Chen Hao looked at the snow girl's back. The snow girl has always been the chef in the god realm, responsible for Chen Hao's 3 meals. In addition to being responsible for the 3 meals, she studies new cuisines every day, and there is nothing else to do. It has been going on for a long time now. Chen Hao did not restrict her, nor did he ask her to do so. In fact, Chen Hao had asked her before, asking her if she had anything she wanted to do. And the snow girl's answer was, being able to stay by the master's side and serve the master is what the snow girl wants to do, and being able to watch the master eat the food I cook is the snow girl's highest pursuit. From that time on, Chen Hao did not ask any more questions. Each beast has a different personality. Chen Hao could only choose to respect them. After lunch, Chen Hao could not help but look at the projection again. However, the little diamond star was still being swallowed. Chen Hao could only choose to lie on the bed and sleep with his eyes closed. In a flash, it was that night. At night, when Chen Hao used the 3D projection of the information processor again, he found that the gas giant planet had been almost swallowed by the little diamond. At this moment, the shape of the little diamond became particularly obvious. It was completely black, and it looked like the entire planet was covered by a thick black cloud, in which a brownish-red light could be seen. Is this a sub-brown dwarf? Chen Hao's heart moved, and he looked at the information displayed in front of him. Gas giant small diamond. Mass, 3.4 times the mass of Jupiter. Description: the friction of air caused by a gas giant engulfing another gas giant caused the gas to burn, resulting in internal light. Seeing this, Chen Hao frowned. Hasn't evolved into a sub-brown dwarf yet? Doesn't it mean that if it is 3 times larger than Jupiter, it can evolve into a sub-brown dwarf? Not really. The information processor gave Chen Hao an answer. Sub-brown dwarf is a type of brown dwarf. It is a celestial body between a planet and the smallest star. The biggest difference between it and a planet is that it can undergo nuclear fusion, while a planet cannot. The difference between it and a real star is that its gravity is not enough to compress hydrogen elements to form nuclear fusion, and it can only rely on compressing deuterium elements to carry out its own nuclear fusion. The temperature emitted by this nuclear fusion and luminosity are not as strong as those of real stars, so brown dwarfs cannot be classified as stars. When a gas giant planet has more than 3 Jupiter masses, it is possible for nuclear fusion reactions to occur and become a sub-brown dwarf. But it is only possible. For a gas giant planet to become a sub-brown dwarf, many conditions and factors are required. More than 3 Jupiter masses are the most basic conditions for satisfying deuterium nuclear fusion, but there are more complex factors. These factors include self-gravity, the amount of deuterium elements. The mechanical voice of the information processor sounded in Chen Hao's mind. After hearing the last part, Chen Hao stopped listening. Chen Hao roughly knew what was going on. The current small diamond star only looks like a brown dwarf on the outside, but in fact, it is just because it absorbs too much gas. The gas friction forms high temperature, and then it is ignited. The air is ignited, just like the oxygen on the Earth is ignited. This ignition has nothing to do with nuclear fusion, and naturally it does not belong to a star. In other words, the higher the mass, the more likely it is to become a sub-brown dwarf, Chen Hao asked. Yes, the main reason why little diamond star has not become a sub-brown dwarf is that it does not have enough tritium. After getting a definite answer, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. It doesn't matter. 3.4 Jupiter masses are not enough for little diamond star to become a sub-brown dwarf, So let little diamond swallow the last gas giant planet in this planetary system? The last one is enough to have a Jupiter mass. If that planet is swallowed, I don't believe it can't become a sub-brown dwarf. By the way, after becoming a sub-brown dwarf with little diamond, will you evolve again? Chen Hao asks subconsciously. As your beast becomes stronger, my various abilities will also increase accordingly. If it evolves, I will only make the next evolution when the most powerful beast you have steps from the planetary level to the stellar level. A mechanical voice sounded in Chen Hao's mind. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. A sub-brown dwarf is not considered a star. Not considered a star. Oh, what a pity, Chen Hao muttered while looking at the 3D projection in front of him. After the little diamond star swallowed the planet, she turned back into a human form and teleported towards the direction of the last gas giant planet. Diamond didn't know that Chen Hao was staring at her. Now, she was just following Chen Hao's orders to devour these gas giants. So, after devouring the second one, she started looking for the third one. There was no intention of resting at all. For the Beast Master, the mission was the most important thing. Chen Hao looked at this and turned off the projection. Because Chen Hao knew that it would take Diamond a long time to devour the third one. Chen Hao looked up at the starry sky above. It is estimated that this gas giant planet will take at least a day at Diamond's speed. It should be almost done tomorrow night. Then, what should I do tomorrow? Chen Hao thought for a while. Book. The universal book appeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao opened the universal book and took out a card from it. This card is the WAF star card. Calculating the time, I haven't been to the WAF continent for a long time. I have always heard about it from others. It's time to go back and take a look. Gun Civilization WAF star. Chen Hao noticed that the prefix of WAF star seemed to have changed. I remember it was a steel civilization before. How did it become a gun civilization? Chen Hao's eyes had a hint of doubt. Could it be that WAF civilization has developed? Chen Hao smiled. It's great, I can go back and take a look. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 415. Think of it and do it. However, this card cannot be released now. This planetary system is very unsuitable for the existence of living planets. I want to go to VAF planet, but I can't turn the planet into a card, so how do I go there? When Chen Hao thought of this, his figure disappeared from the spot. When Chen Hao appeared again, he appeared in front of a portal. Chen Hao looked around. This is an open space paved with stone bricks. On this open space, there are 5 teleportation gates. These 5 portals correspond to the portals on the 4 planets, VAF Star, Endless Star, Ocean Star, Gem Star, and Big Bear Star. Chen Hao heard Xiaoying say it before. Although he turned the God Realm Star into a card, the strange thing is that Xiaoying and the others who stay in the card space can freely go to VAF Star through the portal. This is very strange. Chen Hao looked at the portal in front of him. The principle of this portal should be the warp engine channel. Chen Hao's eyes fell on the card in his hand. The warp engine channel can lead to the card space. In this case, Xiaobai's guess is normal. The space within the card does indeed exist in this world. But then, there is another problem. If the space in the card is located in this world, then where will the real bodies of VAF Star and the others be? Logically speaking, such a big thing can be seen as long as it is nearby. Thinking of this, Chen Hao said, Information processor, where is the VAF Star now? Star VAF is currently in your hand as a card, came the voice of the information processor. No, that's not what I'm asking about, Chen Hao said, I want to know where Star VAF is at this moment. The information processor gave an explanation. Cards are a medium used to store information. The VAF Star exists in the form of dark information and is located in the card. Chen Hao was startled. Dark message. Why did Chen Hao feel like he couldn't understand it again? The dark message is. Okay, let's explain it later. Chen Hao interrupted the information processor. This thing is endless to explain, and even if you know it, it will be of little use to you. This thing is useless if you don't understand or study it. Therefore, Chen Hao is too lazy to listen now. Whenever he is idle and bored and has nothing to do, he can just get to know him slowly. Chen Hao stepped forward. Step into the teleportation array. Chen Hao's eyes darkened. One light. Chen Hao came back to his senses and looked around. Chen Hao remembers it very clearly. Previously, Chen Hao asked Xiao Ying to create a portal on Vaf Star. At that time, the portals were built randomly in the wasteland. After all, where they were built was indifferent to the beast masters in the main god stage. But now, Chen Hao found that he was in a large hall. The main hall is spacious and there are various statues carved on the walls of the main hall. The ceiling above the main hall is inlaid with countless precious magic light stones. The magic light stones emit light like light bulbs, illuminating the entire hall. And this portal is located in the middle of this spacious, gorgeous, exquisite, and luxurious hall. Chen Hao looked around. Suddenly, Chen Hao noticed a gate not far away. Beside the gate were two girls in white skirts. The two girls stood at the door, staring at Chen Hao blankly. There was disbelief on the two little faces. Someone could just ask them where this place is. Thinking of this, Chen Hao smiled at them, raised his hand, and said hello, hi. The two girls were stunned for a moment, and then looked at each other, with shock in each other's eyes. They quickly raised their hands and put them in front of their chests. The Saint Nora of the Creation Temple meets with the Master of Creation. Saint Suna of the Temple of Creation pays her respects to Lord Creation. The two women said in unison. Hearing this, Chen Hao immediately understood. This is the Temple of Creation. These guys call themselves Chuangshen, which means that they have recognized their identities through their own appearance. After the girl who called herself Nora saluted, she raised her face and looked at Chen Hao. Her blue eyes were full of splendor and excitement. Master Chuangshen, I am Saint Nora. Master Chuangshen, if you need anything, just ask. Nora will use everything he has to serve Lord Chuangshen. Suna also said aloud, Master Chuangshen, I am Saint Suna. Master Chuangshen can use Suna at will if he needs Suna. What do they mean? Chen Hao thought for a moment, and then said to the information processor, call their two information databases, I want to check the situation. Received the order. Executing. Searching. Search successful. Chen Hao obtained their memories. Chen Hao looked through their memories. In an instant, Chen Hao understood. The Temple of Creation has many believers throughout the Vaf planet. Even a large number of believers in the Temple of Light and the Temple of Darkness are also believers in the Temple of Creation. In the Temple of Creation, there are places for two saints. The duty of the saint is to wait for the arrival of the Creator God and to serve and convey the Creator God's will. Simply put, the saint is the spokesperson of the God of creation. After becoming a saint, they can obtain rights second only to the Creator God in the Temple of Creation, and they are supreme. The price is that before the Creator God descends to the earth, they must guard the altar day and night and wait for the Creator God to descend to the earth, without any freedom. To become a saint, you must be a girl over 14 years old and under 20 years old, and you must be holy, beautiful and intelligent. These rules are what the believers think of and establish themselves. After glancing at their memories, Chen Hao suddenly felt a little amused. Isn't this too awesome? But, it's okay. With this saint, it's easy for me to travel in the Waf continent. After all, there are two more tour guides. Of course, Chen Hao can also look through other people's information databases to understand, but doing so is equivalent to holding a book and flipping through it to understand the world, which is really boring. Chen Hao prefers to experience it personally. If you want to experience it yourself, if there are no two saints, with the current changes in the WAF continent, you probably don't know where you want to go. At that time, you may encounter the same situation as before in Laiyan City and be interrogated by the guards. Chen Hao looked at the two girls in front of him, and he smiled and said, I understand the situation. Come here, I want to ask you something. They looked at each other, then looked at Chen Hao, and walked towards Chen Hao elegantly and dignifiedly. There was a rattan chair behind Chen Hao, and he sat on the chair and raised his hand. With the hand raised, two rattan chairs appeared behind the girls. They looked at the chairs behind them. Chen Hao smiled and said, sit down. When they heard it, they slowly sat down, their movements were neat and their manners were elegant. But even though they tried their best to hide it, there was still a hint of nervousness in their expressions. Now they are restraining their emotions, and seem to be trying hard to leave a good impression in front of Chen Hao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 416. Chen Hao looked at the nervous actions of these two little guys. Through the memories of these two little guys, Chen Hao can know their ages. Nora and Suna both come from a family called West. They are twins and are currently 17 years old. Calculating the time, when I left VAF Star, these two little guys were not born yet. If the human civilization on VAF planet is divided into several eras, then the birth of the Yinglong Empire can be regarded as one era. The childhood they spent was the era when the Yinglong Empire was born. At that time, the belief in the creation temple spread to the entire VAF planet with the unification of the Yinglong Empire. They became the most devout believers. Seeing the nervousness of the two little guys, Chen Hao kept a gentle and elegant smile on his face. Don't be so nervous, I am not a gorilla and I don't eat people. Nora and Suna were sitting on chairs. When they heard Chen Hao's words, they looked at each other, and then looked at Chen Hao together. Nora said, we are rude. This is the first time that Suna and I have seen Master Chuangshen. The glory of Master Chuangshen shines all over the world. You are so great. Now you, the Great One, suddenly appear in front of me and Suna. Even those of us who have received training will inevitably feel a little nervous. Nora looked at Chen Hao with her beautiful eyes. If Master Chuangshen is displeased because of our nervousness, please forgive Master Chuangshen. If punishment is required, Nora and Suna are also willing to accept your punishment. Punish this. Chen Hao simply wanted to comfort them, so he asked them not to be so nervous. As a result, this small act actually came with punishment. Chen Hao smiled, don't talk about this, let me ask you, do firearms exist in this world now? Having previously passed through VAF Star, Chen Hao saw the changes in the civilization of VAF Star through the VAF Star card. Planet VAF has become a firearms civilization. Since it has become a firearms civilization, it must at least have guns, right? When Nora heard this, she put her hand into the loose cuff and took out a card from the sleeve pocket inside. The cards turn into a book. Noila opened the book, and then handed it to Chen Hao respectfully. Chen Hao looked at it and took it. This is a collection of card books. The book is gorgeously decorated and inlaid with gold filigree. The book was opened, and there were cards inside. The card lying on the page that was opened now was a very unique card. Equipment Magic Woman Pistol. Looking at the picture of the card, you can see that it is a firearm made of an unknown black metal. Chen Hao took out the card, transform. The card turned into a pistol and fell into Chen Hao's hand. Chen Hao held the pistol and felt the coldness and weight of metal in his hand. The pistol was engraved with exquisite golden rose patterns, but it was different from the pistols Chen Hao had seen in the previous world. It looked like a revolver, with a bulge in the middle that contained a crystal ball. Chen Hao looked carefully and saw that it seemed to be a crystal ball, not a magazine. Normally, firearms should have magazines, but this pistol does not have a magazine. Except for the fact that there is no magazine, other parts such as the butt, handle, and barrel are very similar. Because it's a women's pistol, it's a little smaller. It is relatively small in Chen Hao's hands. After Chen Hao looked at this thing, he then looked at Nora, how to use this thing. Nola's eyes glowed with doubt, and she said, Master Chuang Shen, let me demonstrate to you. Hearing this, Chen Hao handed the gun in his hand to Nora. Nora stretched out her hand and took the pistol respectfully. Suna on the side saw this, she stood up, took out a card collection book, and then took out a card from the book. With a wave of his hand, the card turned into an apple. She walked to the window and put the apple on the window. She looked at Nora. Nora raised the pistol in her hand and pointed the gun at apple. Under Chen Hao's gaze, he saw that the crystal ball in the middle of the pistol began to light up from the white crystal at the beginning, and turned into red, and the crystal ball seemed to be burning with flames. At this time, Nora pulled the trigger. Bang! Accompanied by a gunshot. A red ball of light shot out from the barrel. Crack, the apple in the window shattered. Seeing this, Chen Hao touched his chin. So that's it? This pistol uses magic element instead of the energy of gunpowder, and uses magic element as bullets. After Nora finished shooting, she looked at Chen Hao, Master Chuang Shen, Nora has finished the demonstration. Su-Na walked over slowly and said, this thing was designed by the master blacksmith Bude. When magic is poured into the bullet engine of the gun, it will automatically generate bullets for attack. It only takes a little bit. The destructive power of magic element is comparable to that of magic at the level of great magic, and its destructive power is very strong. Nora looked at Suna. Come to think of it, the reason why Bude can make firearms is mainly because of the knowledge of truth spread by Master Chuang Shen. Without the truth of Master Chuang Shen, it is estimated that even the Master Butt would not be able to create such a thing. With that said, Nora looked at Chen Hao. All of this is the gospel brought by the glory of Master Chuang Shen. When Chen Hao heard this, he frowned slightly. You mean, the physical knowledge used in designing firearms was spread by the dragon god? Nora looked at Chen Hao's expression carefully. Seeing Chen Hao frowning, she had uneasiness in her eyes. She nodded slightly. Yes, 18 years ago, the dragon god came to the world to spread the truth. Others call him the dragon god, and the dragon god also understands the truth. Chen Hao frowned and thought for a while. It is probably the big dragon. Chen Hao raised his face and looked at Nora. Dragon god is from Wolong Island. Nora said, yes. Is it a man or a woman? Male. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. Just as I thought, it seems to be the big dragon. No wonder guns appeared in the magic world of Waf Star. It turned out that the big dragon was spreading scientific knowledge, no wonder. All right. WAF civilization itself is a civilization that relies heavily on nanorobots. They fight fiercely all day long. For hundreds of thousands of years, civilization has not made any progress. Almost all highly intelligent life forms do not even know the most basic knowledge. They do not even know that planets are round. If no one tells them the truth and leads them forward, it is estimated that there will be no development even if given millions of years. Now these highly intelligent life forms on the WAF star, whether they are human, demon or others, all call themselves the god of creation. As the god of creation, it is okay for me to spread the truth. Forget it. I am too lazy to think about it. I have nothing to do, so it is time to meet my old friends. Let's go to the Adventure Guild first. I wonder if the old man in the Adventure Guild is still alive. Thinking about it, Chen Hao looked at Nora, but found that Nora and Suna were standing there, looking at him cautiously, with a trace of worry and nervousness. Notice their expressions. Chen Hao said, huh? What's wrong? Nora said cautiously. The god of creation frowned. I wonder if Nora said something wrong. Chen Hao's eyebrows stretched. This guy is too nervous. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 417. Is the Adventure Guild of Laiyan City still there? Chen Hao was too lazy to comfort the two sensitive little guys. His own business was more important. However, is the Adventure Guild still there? It has been a long time, at least more than 20 years. Do these two little guys know about the Adventure Guild? Nora nodded slightly when she heard it, yes. This answer was beyond Chen Hao's expectation. Chen Hao looked at Nora. Is Laiyan City still there? When Yinglong was unified, was Laiyan City not affected? Nora hummed. There has been no way to deal with Laiyan City. After the unification of Yinglong Empire, Laiyan City became the capital of Yinglong Empire. Now we call it Yinglong City. The Adventure Guild has always remained neutral during the World War and has not participated in any war, so the Adventure Guild can continue to exist until now. After Nora explained, she looked at Chen Hao. Lord Chuangshen, we are now in Yinglong City, and the Adventure Guild is outside. Lord Chuangshen, do you want to see President Boar? Boar. Nora blinked, with a hint of doubt in her eyes. Yes, according to the records of the ancient books of Chuangshen. You came to the mortal world under the pseudonym Chen Hao and went to the Adventure Guild. The president who contacted Lord Chuangshen at that time was called Burrow. Hearing this, Chen Hao suddenly realized it. The fact that he went to the Adventure Guild at that time was recorded by these people. Yes, when people know what he looks like, they will think of the exaggerated competition he had held with the Adventure Guild and the arena. They can easily identify themselves by thinking about it. The president's name is Baal. Chen Hao just found out. He used to call the old man the president. Chen Hao said, yes, I want to meet him. Hearing this, Nora shook her head. Lord Creator, please forgive Nora for not being able to make this happen. She looked at Chen Hao. President Baal passed away 3 years ago. Passed away? What's the reason? Chen Hao was slightly stunned. He wanted to come here to meet his acquaintances, but he didn't expect to get such bad news. President Baal has always been at the strength of a sword saint, and has never made a breakthrough, which has limited his lifespan. 3 years ago, his deadline came. Suen explained. Can't the light magician cure it? Yes, in the entire VAF continent, the most powerful light magician is the high priest of the Temple of Light. He has the power of a great light magician, but he can't bring back a person who is about to die. Nora paused and looked at Chen Hao. It seems that the ability of the great light magician is also average. What a pity. Chen Hao originally wanted to see that old acquaintance. The sword god and the god of law, are those two old men still there? Chen Hao crossed his arms and looked at Nora. Nora said, the sword god is still alive, and the god of law is about to die. Huh? Chen Hao looked at Nora. Is the god of law also going to die of old age? Nora nodded slightly, yes. The god of law is now living in Yinglong City. If Lord Creation God wants to go, we can take Lord Creation God there immediately. Nora smiled elegantly. Hearing this, Chen Hao said, take me there. In fact, Chen Hao can use the information processor to find the location of the god of law, and then directly use teleportation to reach the place where the god of law is. Chen Hao is not in a hurry. He wants to take his time. By the way, he can also see the changes in this world on the way. Please follow me. Lord Creator. Nora and Suna walked to both sides of Chen Hao and took Chen Hao out of the gate. Chen Hao looked at the backs of Nora and Suna. The two girls are slender and petite, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Although they are blonde and blue eyes, they don't look like the Western girls that Chen Hao has seen on Earth before. Their skin is snow white, and the pores are not as thick as most Western girls, but as delicate as the skin of Oriental girls, with their slender figure and the delicate, thin, and luxurious white dress. With their dignified and elegant manners, they look beautiful, holy and noble. When the three of them left the hall, they walked in the long corridor. This corridor is very spacious. Although it is upstairs, the corridor is 2 meters wide. The floor is covered with a deep red carpet with exquisite patterns, and there are bright lights on both sides of the wall. A luxurious and noble atmosphere is coming. At this time, Chen Hao noticed that there were believers in black robes walking towards this side. When the believers saw Chen Hao and the other two, when they saw Chen Hao, their eyes widened, and then they all stepped aside to make way, put their hands on their chests, lowered their heads slightly, and saluted. After passing through the long corridor, the three came to a very spacious hall. In the hall, there were many believers in black clothes and some guests in different clothes kneeling in the hall. When Chen Hao and the other two appeared, whether it was the believers or the visitors who came to worship the gods, they all stared at this side. It's the god of creation. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Oh my God, it's really the god of creation. The believers knelt on the ground one after another. This is a spacious main hall with many people coming and going, and now these people are kneeling on the ground one by one in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao stopped and looked at the believers, then retracted his gaze and looked at the statues around him. After Chen Hao entered the hall, he realized that this was the main hall of the creation temple. There are many white jade statues in the main hall. The largest, most exquisite, and majestic statue is the one in the center of the hall. The statue looks very familiar. Isn't this statue me? Chen Hao's eyes widened. The statue is 7 meters high and looks very magnificent. The person on the statue is sitting with a gentle smile on his face. He looked at his statue and couldn't help but sigh that the sculpture was too exquisite. Chen Hao retracted his gaze and looked at the statues on both sides. The statues on both sides are the statues of Xiaobai, Huashan, Xiadi, Huofeng, Shataya, and Bader as Yinglong. These statues are smaller than Chen Hao's statues, estimated to be more than 5 meters. Chen Hao never thought that he would be carved into a statue one day. How do you know what I look like? Chen Hao looked at Nora and Suna, who were quietly looking at him. Nora was startled. She said, "There is a statue of you in the Grey Elves? You have been to the Grey Elves before and saved them. The Grey Elves carved a statue in your image. Now all the statues of the Creator God in the entire WAF continent are based on the statues of the Grey Elves?" After hearing this, Chen Hao knew. So that's how it is. Chen Hao thought it was Xiaobai or the flower god who was playing tricks. It turned out to be the Grey Elves? No wonder. Chen Hao retracted his gaze. Let's go and see the god of magic. Yes, Nora responded. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 418. Nora and Suna took Chen Hao out of the door. When Chen Hao and the other two left the main hall, the people who were kneeling on the ground slowly stood up. They looked at the direction where Chen Hao and the other two left. Is that the god of creation? Is it true? The god of creation has descended. Unbelievable, very unbelievable. Is something big going to happen? It's possible, that's the god of creation. The god of creation has descended to the mortal world, so something big must be happening. What should we do? Pray more, the god of creation will bless us. The appearance of Chen Hao caused people's hearts to fluctuate. Nora and Suna took Chen Hao out of the main hall of the Temple of Creation, and right in front of them was the front yard of the Temple of Creation. It's better to say that it's a huge square, which is very spacious and huge, with a huge fountain in the middle. In this square, someone was resting here. When Chen Hao and the other two came out, they also saw Chen Hao. After seeing Chen Hao, they stopped what they were doing and looked at this side one by one, their eyes widened. Chen Hao glanced around and found that those guys were staring at him. Chen Hao was too lazy to pay attention to them. He looked at Nora. Nora took out a card and waved her hand. The card flew out and turned into a carriage. No. Chen Hao looked at the two horses. There was a long horn on the forehead of the horse. These were two mounts called unicorns. Nora looked at Chen Hao. Master Creator, please get in the car. Yes. Chen Hao got on the unicorn car, and Nora and Suna followed. The car started moving, and the two unicorns dragged the carriage on the road. This was the first time Chen Hao rode in a unicorn car, and he noticed that the window was very spacious. Just like a small room, in this spacious carriage, there were chairs, tables and even a soft big bed. It was simply a low-profile version of a motorhome. It was really enjoyable. Even this unicorn car is equipped with shock absorbers. The unicorn drags the carriage on the main road. Chen Hao, sitting in the carriage, can't even feel any vibration. Chen Hao turned his head and looked at the window. It was already night. But the street in Chen Hao was brightly lit. There are fluorescent stones in this world, which absorb sunlight to emit light. This light is much brighter than the moonstone in Chen Hao's world, and the brightness is almost comparable to that of a light bulb. These fluorescent stones are now like street lamps, set up on both sides of the road, illuminating the surroundings. Chen Hao looked at the spacious stone brick road on the ground. Now Chen Hao is in Yinglong City, which is also the capital of the Yinglong Empire. In this place as the capital, the ground is paved with stone bricks, and the road is wide, plus there are street lamps on the road. Chen Hao sighed. The changes on WAF Star are really big. On both sides of the street, there are also food stalls, which display various barbecue foods, or various fruits, toys, etc. People come and go on the wide street. The whole Yinglong city was brightly lit and bustling with people. Although it was already night, it was almost the same as daytime. Those who were walking around had smiles on their faces. Seeing this, Chen Hao couldn't help but show a relieved smile on his face. It seems that with the help of Yinglong and the flower god, the WAF continent has begun to develop. Nora and Suna noticed the change in Chen Hao's expression. Seeing the joy on Chen Hao's face, Nora and Suna looked at each other and smiled on each other's faces. Although they have learned a lot of knowledge and have a wide range of knowledge as saints, they still can't help but be nervous when they see the real Creator God coming. And now seeing Chen Hao happy, they secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Not long after, the unicorn car stopped in front of the big iron gate of a manor. The big iron gate was closed, and there was a guard next to the iron gate. The guard came over and looked at the window. Nora, who had been prepared for a long time, opened the window and looked at the guard. When the guard saw Nora, his eyes lit up slightly, and he put his hand on his chest. "Saint Lady." Nora said, "The God of creation has come down to earth to see the God of law." The guard was startled, and he hurriedly said, "Yes, I will open the door immediately." As he said, the guard hurriedly opened the iron gate. The unicorn car entered the big iron gate. Chen Hao looked at the manor through the window. This manor occupies a large area, and there are many WAF-style houses in the manor. Among them, the house in the middle of the manor, which is also facing the gate, is the largest. It is estimated that this manor is the residence of the God of Law family, and the largest house is where the God of Law lives. The unicorn car stopped in front of the largest house. When the unicorn car stopped, there was already a woman standing in front of the house waiting. Chen Hao and the other two got out of the unicorn car. When the woman saw Nora and Suna, there was a hint of doubt in her eyes, but when she saw Chen Hao, her pupils condensed. The woman quickly raised her hand to her chest, lowered her head slightly, and said, "The fifth-generation grandson of the God of Law, Tai Yin has met the Lord of Creation." He was recognized. The fifth-generation grandson? The fifth-generation grandson, in other words, the God of Law is the father of her grandfather's grandfather? Chen Hao smiled. The fifth-generation grandson? Has he grown up this big? It seems that the old man is very lucky. When Chen Hao said this, Nora, Suna and Tain could not help but look at Chen Hao. They never expected that the dignified god of creation would call the god of law old gentleman. Noticing their gaze, Chen Hao knew what they were shocked about, but he was too lazy to explain. He looked at Tain. Old gentleman, what's the situation now? Tain explained, the old ancestor has been lying in bed, his body is very weak, and he can't recognize anyone now. At present, the old ancestor is being taken care of by me and my sister. Chen Hao frowned, no one can recognize him. Tain nodded slightly, yes. Chen Hao had heard of the symptom in the previous world. But Chen Hao never expected that the symptom would happen to the god of law. Chen Hao said, take him to see him, he and I are old friends. Tain nodded slightly, please follow me. As he said, Tain led Chen Hao and the other two into the room. After crossing the hall, Chen Hao followed Tain to the second floor and entered a room. This is a bedroom, very spacious and ventilated. In this spacious room is a large bed, on which a skinny old man is lying. He closed his eyes, rested on a pillow, and was resting. Chen Hao approached slowly, and slowly, he saw the old man's appearance clearly. It was the god of law. But, compared to the first time he met him, the god of law was now skinnier and looked like skin wrapped around bones. The old face no longer looked like a normal person. Chen Hao looked at the changes in the body of the god of law, and his heart ached. He felt a little sad for no reason. Has the smiling old man with white hair and a youthful face become like this now? Grandfather Tain walked carefully to the old man and called softly. The old man did not move. Grandfather, the god of creation is here. Hearing this, the old man slowly opened his eyelids, revealing a pair of deep black eyes. His eyeballs turned, and his eyes fell on Chen Hao. The old man was like the bark of a dead tree, but his eyes were deep, like gems inlaid on the bark. He looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao knew that the god of law was sick. Just like what Tain said, he could no longer recognize other people. Chen Hao sighed and was about to do something. Lord God of creation. The god of law suddenly spoke, his voice full of vicissitudes. When Chen Hao heard it, his heart was shocked. Did the god of law recognize him? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 419. Judging from the appearance of the god, he recognized Chen Hao's identity. Chen Hao smiled, turned into a chair, then sat on the chair, looked at the Dharma god, and said with a smile, long time no see, old gentleman. When the Dharma god heard this, his eyes lit up, and he struggled, moving his skinny hand slowly, trying to get up. Ta Yin looked at it and quickly reached out to help the Dharma god. Chen Hao took a look, don't get up, just lie down like this. The god of law frowned and struggled to get up, but he really had no strength and couldn't get up. He could only lie down slowly again, leaning on the pillow, looking sideways at Chen Hao. Master Chuangshen came to my humble residence, but I can't get up to salute. I hope Master Chuangshen can forgive me. The smile on Chen Hao's face became a little helpless, and he said, Old sir, I have known you for decades now, so there is no need to be so open-minded to me. Nora on the side said, Miss Tain, let's go outside first. I have some questions to ask Miss Tain. Ta Yin also knew what Nora meant, and she nodded slightly, okay. With that said, Tain followed Nora and Suna and walked out the door. Ta Yin subconsciously looked back at the god of law on the bed, then withdrew his gaze and left together. Chen Hao turned his face slightly and looked at the backs of the three people. He watched the three people go out and the door to the room was closed by them. Chen Hao understood that Nora deliberately took people away so that Chen Hao and the God of Law could have a chance to chat alone. Chen Hao withdrew his gaze and looked at the Dharma God. He smiled and said, "Old sir, I think your current condition is not very good. Let me help you." The current situation of the Dharma God may be very bad for the magicians in Vafstar, but for Chen Hao, it is not a difficult thing. Chen Hao shares Xiaodi's abilities. He can even resurrect a dead person. Curing him is naturally an easy task. No. No, Dharma God said while shaking his head. Chen Hao looked at the Dharma God's expression and had doubts in his heart. No. Chen Hao couldn't understand the Dharma God's resistance. People have the instinct to survive. In this case, why didn't he choose to survive? The Dharma God's expression became a little strange, his eyes became a little wandering, and he slowly closed his eyes. Master Chuangshen, old man, I know that you are omnipotent. Even the dead can be resurrected by you, but I don't need it anymore, old man. The old voice was like the mournful sound of wind blowing through dead trees. Chen Hao frowned slightly. An ant still lives in vain. What are you doing, old gentleman? The Dharma God said, old man, I have lived for too long and I am tired of living. Chen Hao was speechless. In the past, Chen Hao heard a saying that the old man hanged himself. But Chen Hao never expected that this time, he would actually meet him. The God of Law slowly opened his eyes and looked at the ceiling. My life has been too long. I have even forgotten how many years I have lived now. I have witnessed the changes in the entire Vaf continent, witnessed the World War, witnessed the unification of the Yinglong Empire, and also witnessed the emergence of technology. The world has changed, and I don't recognize the old man anymore. The God of Dharma looked at the ceiling. Truth says, the world is wrong now. Magic fighting energy is just a technological item left behind by previous lives. Humanity has been standing still without any progress. Firearms are weapons that can be purchased casually. Even if an ordinary person with nothing gets them, they can pose a threat to a great magician. The world has changed so much, it's so big. This is no longer my time, old man. Listen to Dharma God talking to himself. Chen Hao was shocked. Neglected. Dalong spreads truth in this world, and truth is science. Chen Hao has been exposed to science and can quickly accept the fact that magic elements and fighting spirit are products of technology. But for the Dharma God in front of him, it was difficult to accept. Because of the existence of truth, it almost completely denies the current magic and shakes the foundation of magic. For Dharma God, he has been pursuing magic all his life and pursuing becoming powerful. But the truth that suddenly appeared now said that the previous understanding of magicians was just a joke, and magic was just a technological product left by the predecessors. This change is earth-shaking and difficult to accept. The God of Law has been pursuing magic all his life, but now magic has been completely denied. Lord Chuangshen. The God of Magic slowly opened his eyes. He turned his face and looked at Chen Hao. Based on the truth you spread, is the magic that the old man has been pursuing all his life still meaningful? Looking at the eager eyes of the Dharma God, Chen Hao showed a smile. He stretched out his hand and held the old and skinny palm of the God of Law. He smiled and said, the God of Law that I see in my eyes is a kind and peace-loving old gentleman. You study magic, it provides convenience to people. When the demons invaded the human race, you and the Sword God became the two pillars of mankind. If it weren't for you, the demons would have invaded Vaf continent countless times, and countless lives would have died. With you here, mankind can survive peacefully for such a long time under the threat of demons. And this is all thanks to your research on magic. The magic element is indeed nanorobots, but no matter what the magic element is, this cannot be shaken, your contribution to mankind. Your life is meaningful, no matter how the world changes, you are the law. God. Listening to Chen Hao's words, the Dharma God's deep black eyes lit up. There was a smile on his skinny face. Ha ha. The Dharma god smiled. It's just that the laughter reveals joy, but within the joy, there is still sadness that cannot be concealed. Chen Hao knew that his comfort was effective, but no matter how effective it was, it could not change the current changes in the world. When people start to study technology and start to take the path of science, can the god of magic, who once represented magic, continue to be the same as before? Obviously, that's impossible. No matter what Chen Hao says, the era of magic and fighting spirit is about to pass. After the Dharma god laughed a few times, he said, Master Chuang Shen, thank you. He turned his face sideways and looked at Chen Hao. This world is lucky to have your protection. Old man, I am lucky to be the friend of Master Chuang Shen. The old man is very happy and honored. If there is reincarnation, there is an afterlife. Old man, I still want to be friends with Master Chuang Shen. Chen Hao was startled and said, Old sir, are you? The god of law slowly closed his eyes and nodded slightly. My era has passed, and the future is the era of young people. Old man, I am too tired. Lord Chuang Shen, the old man has a wish, and I hope Lord Chuang Shen can agree to it. Old man. Please don't wake up the old man, let him have a good sleep. He slowly closed his eyes. The skinny hand that Chen Hao placed in his hand slowly dropped down. Chen Hao looked at the silent old man in front of him. He sat on the chair and was silent for a long time. He stood up, stretched out his hand to put Dharma God's hand back on the bed, and covered him with a quilt. While doing these actions, Chen Hao couldn't help but recall the scenes when he met this old man. When I first met this old man, his face was full of the confidence of a strong man. And now, time has changed the entire world, and it has also erased his self-confidence and his desire to survive. Chen Hao covered the old man with a quilt and looked at the god of law. Have a good rest and I won't disturb you anymore. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 420. Master Chuang Shen, Nora and the other three greeted Chen Hao one by one as soon as they saw him coming out. Lord Chuang Shen, how is my ancestor? Ta Yin looked at Chen Hao, her eyes were questioning, and there was a trace of luster in those black eyes, which was the luster of hope. The most powerful light magician is her ancestor. If the ancestor cannot cure his disease, then in this world, the only one who can cure the ancestor is the true God. And the Creator God in front of him is the Lord of the gods. He must have a way to cure the ancestors. Thinking of the friendship between the Creator God in front of me and my ancestors, Ta Yin felt hopeful. Chen Hao looked at Ta Yin's expression and said, he has passed away. Ta Yin was stunned for a moment, with a trace of astonishment in her eyes. Why is this? Ta Yin's eyes trembled. Master Chuang Shen, can't you bring people back to life? Could it be that you can't cure my ancestors' disease? Chen Hao looked at Ta Yin's somewhat excited expression and said, it's not that he can't be cured, it's just that he doesn't want to be cured. He's too tired and wants to rest. Ta Yin was stunned. She looked at Chen Hao with confusion on her face. Chen Hao withdrew his gaze, raised his head and looked at the starry sky above. It's time for me to go back and rest. After the words fell, Chen Hao's figure disappeared from the spot. Looking at the place where Chen Hao disappeared, Nora and Suan looked at each other, and then looked at the place where Chen Hao disappeared. They put their hands on their chests and saluted in the direction where Chen Hao left. Congratulations, Master Chuang Shen. Chen Hao returned to the God realm and was lying on the big bed, looking at the familiar ceiling above. I originally planned to go back to my old place tonight to meet acquaintances and relax, but I didn't expect to encounter such a thing. I have become immortal, and I also have the means to make others immortal, but I never thought that there would be people who would not want to continue living. To live in this world, a person needs faith. Like the God of law, his belief is magic, and magic is his lifelong pursuit and belief. When the truth emerges, the Dharma God's faith collapses. After losing faith, the Dharma God has lost the idea of living. Chen Hao recalled something that happened during this period. At that time, Yu told herself that she could not find the meaning of her life. The so-called meaning of life is actually faith. What about your previous life? In my previous life, I seemed to have no faith and just went to work every day. It was difficult to even live, let alone believe. And in this life, I also have faith. Cultivating pets and watching them evolve is my faith in this life. Thinking of this, Chen Hao waved his hand, and a transparent sphere was suspended in mid-air. Inside the sphere was a 3D projection. In the projection, it was the scene of the small diamond swallowing the gas giant planet. The gas giant planet has been almost completely devoured, and it should be done by tomorrow. Chen Hao waved his hand, and the sphere was moved aside by Chen Hao, and he closed his eyes. Wait and see tomorrow. Time flies. The next day, Chen Hao woke up naturally. He opened his eyes and looked at the familiar ceiling above. He stood up and looked at the projected image beside him. Enter the eye. Chen Hao noticed that nothing could be seen in this projected image. Becomes pitch black. The little diamond is missing? Chen Hao turned his face and looked at the window. The light from the window was bright. Master, suddenly, a voice came. Chen Hao came back to his senses and saw Xiadi standing aside. She looked at Chen Hao with a smile on her face. It's noon now, lunch is ready. Chen Hao nodded slightly and got out of bed. Master, there is one more thing. Little Diamond is back. She originally wanted to find the master directly. I wanted to see that the master was still resting, so I didn't let her disturb the master. Hearing this, Chen Hao's heart moved. Back. Calculating the time, it's almost noon now. Chen Hao said, we'll talk about lunch later. Let Little Diamond come over to see me. Xiadi nodded slightly, yes. Her figure disappeared from the spot. After a while, Little Diamond appeared in the bedroom out of thin air. As soon as Little Diamond saw Chen Hao, her eyes shone, Master, I'm back. Chen Hao looked at the Little Diamond and said with a smile, have you finished swallowing it? Little Diamond nodded slightly, yes, I originally wanted to tell the master when I came back. He was just resting, so I didn't disturb him. Well, stand there and let me take a look, Chen Hao said as he asked the information processor to open Little Diamond's information panel. Sub-brown dwarf small diamond. 3.5 Jupiter masses. Seeing this, Chen Hao's eyes lit up slightly and a smile appeared on his face. Sub-brown dwarf. Chen Hao looked at Little Diamond, come on, let me see what your current body looks like. After the words fell, Chen Hao and Xiao Diamond disappeared together. When they appeared again, the two appeared in the dark space of the universe. Little Diamond's body disappeared from the spot, she flew away from Chen Hao, and then under Chen Hao's gaze, her body glowed with golden light. The entire body turns into a golden ball of light, and the ball of light expands at an extremely fast speed. Soon, under Chen Hao's gaze, an extremely huge celestial body appeared in front of him. After this celestial body appeared, it slowly rotated. Chen Hao looked at the celestial body in front of him. Chen Hao found that this was a celestial body with a nearly completely black appearance, but there was a little bit of dark brown in this black. If you don't look carefully, you can't even see this dark brown. Is this celestial body in front of you a sub-brown dwarf? It doesn't look that brown. When a planet, after gaining a certain mass, increases its own gravity, it is enough to use gravity to bind the gas in the universe. The amount of gas is too large and wraps around the planet, and the planet becomes a gas planet. As the gas increases, other planets will become gas giants. But if the mass continues to increase, the matter in the body will be compressed to a terrifying place by its own gravity, and a thing called tritium in the matter will form nuclear fusion because it can't withstand the pressure, and it will be ignited. A sub-brown dwarf is a star with a small amount of tritium ignited in the body, but the energy generated by the ignition of the element is extremely low. So it hardly emits light. This is a sub-brown dwarf. Chen Hao said, "Information processor, what is the speed of the warp engine now?" "The current warp engine can reach 10 times the speed of light." The mechanical voice of the information processor sounded in Chen Hao's mind. Chen Hao nodded slightly. The speed of the warp engine will be enhanced by the beast that Chen Hao has. With a speed of 10 times the speed of light, it will be faster to go to the next planetary system. Chen Hao looked at the small diamond in front of him that had become a sub-brown dwarf. Sub-brown dwarfs are not stars. I wonder how much the speed can be increased after the sub-brown dwarf becomes a star and the information processor evolves.